Conversations about how the world's best apps grow, by design, not by chance, with the people and systems behind them.
What you want to do is that you want to build a product that people actually love. If you're using people or images or icons or emojis or those sort of things, always try to opt for the happier ones, or you don't have to add every single person that you met to Facebook anymore, because it doesn't really show retention. The biggest reason why it can be challenging is because marketing is usually measured on volume and product is measured on engagement. It's probably been the same three things that it would be in like this situation that I would look into a bit more. Onboarding, the core activity, and notifications. The fact that like more features equals more value, that's not true.
Hey everyone, and welcome to Growth by Design by Applica. Here we discuss systems that help top mobile apps worldwide grow systematically, not by chance. And I'm so happy to introduce my guest for today, Hanna Grevelius. She's Chief Product Officer at Bruce Studios. Hey Hanna, and I'm so happy you joined me today. Thank you so much for joining.
Of course, really happy to be here and fun to discuss some of the most exciting topics, I think, with you today. So really happy to be here.
Awesome. So let's start. Hanna, I've been recently surprised when I noticed on LinkedIn that you've been featured on the App Store, like featured in featuring section, with your photo on the banner, because I haven't seen that before. And I wanted to ask you, and I think everyone is interested in that, how does something like that actually come together behind the scenes? How were you able to achieve this?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think with Apple, like most app developers know, it's more them who, decide what to do and what not to do and what's allowed and what's not allowed. And it was definitely the same thing here. They reached out because they, as you know, are trying to encourage a lot of people to get into app development and try to encourage and push people to get started, I think. And I think this was an initiative in Europe. So they wanted to really highlight a couple of people that have worked with a lot of European app companies. So there wasn't really anything that I did from my part, apart from having worked at a couple of different European tech app startups in the past couple of years. So yeah, Apple reached out and wanted to have a session with me and two other people about the space, about what's happening now, what to think about, what's changing, how do you get started, and all those things. And yeah, it ended up being featured in the App Store, I think twice. So I guess they must have had good interest in people clicking that. But yeah, nothing that I really did on my side, apart from having been in the industry for now a couple of years and worked with a lot of different niche apps. So yeah, I guess I could say that I was just as surprised as you.
That's really cool and well-deserved, 100%. But yeah, we recently launched an article about how to get featured on the App Store, a guide, I should include a point there about being just awesome in your sphere.
Yeah, I don't know if I should take all of that credit, but definitely have been part of some really amazing teams and still am. So it's so fun to be part of building products for both Android but Apple as well.
Yeah, great work is rewarding, you see. And from there, I'd like to go into something you recently, I think a couple of months ago, prepared for Revenue Cat. You contributed to an article about paywalls. And I noticed an interesting thing there. You have argued that the paywall is not a feature and it should stand out from the rest of the app experience and not blend in the common design. I wanted to ask, what does it mean in practice for where and how you should basically show it? Because a lot of teams, try to make it feel native and almost invisible, which I guess can lead to fatigue, like banner fatigue.
Yeah, I think when it comes to product development, and I'm sure we'll circle back to this in a lot of questions and topics, but what you want to do is that you want to build a product that people actually love. Now, to get people to click on the paywall and to actually convert is a bit of a mix. You want to get people enough interested so that they do it and that they give you a chance of the paid version of the app that you are offering. at the same time, you don't want people to accidentally click and just get that super high, like day zero conversion rate on the paywall, and then you have all the people churning anyway the day after or the week after or as soon as the trial ends. So that's why I think it's quite good. I mean, when it comes to apps, you should always like try to test as much as you have. If you have enough audience, always test. But if your paywall is blending in a lot with the onboarding or with all the other screens, I would definitely like argue or at least suggest to try a different paywall. If all of your screens are black or like dark background, try to have a lighter color on the paywall itself. And there's also a bunch of other like small hacks like that I recommend. If you're using people or images or icons or emojis or those sort of things, always try to opt for the happier ones, smiling, like the ones that are looking good, like try to use those. And I would say that it's okay from that perspective to have the paywall look and feel a little bit different than the rest of your product. So don't be afraid of letting the paywall have a different design, try it out a little bit. I've talked previously about that we once at Fishbrain worked with a test that we called the ugly paywall. We had worked a lot on optimizing our paywall to make it really beautiful, like the rest of the app, like the rest of the product, how we wanted it to be and how we wanted our brand to be represented. But then we did one test that was like, we called it the ugly paywall test because it was super simple, white background, not even like, slightly gray or slightly beige like you usually do if you have white as a background from a design perspective, but it was like pure white, a couple of bullet points, and really nothing special. And it ended up performing really good. So I think simplicity is also something that's worth testing a lot on the paywall. Perhaps you're working a lot to get your brand into the rest of the app with, colors, gradients, animations maybe, but don't be afraid to let the paywall speak a little bit for itself, and that's really the moment when you are selling, and at that point you have to be very sharp and very crisp in what you're opting for. I think also if you think about the industry now, a couple of years ago, all of the paywalls were generally these really long ones from like the Blinkist time and the Blinkist paywall, where you had like it was a lot of things on that page, and they got a lot of featuring for converting really good. And I don't know if it's the industry or the consumer, if it's on like the company side or the consumer side that things have changed, but I feel like most of the paywalls that I see nowadays are usually like a one screen paywall. That's very simple, but of course it also depends a lot on how well your brand is known, how much people know about your product beforehand. But don't be afraid to let the paywall stand out for itself and not 100% blend in with the rest of the brand design.
That's great advice. Thank you, Hanna. And I agree, because like sometimes when I personally as a user see too complicated, like a complex paywall with too many options, I'm like annoyed, because we are used to spending like less time on things like this. I just want to get this access quickly, or just skip it and try another app. And so I'm like, oh my gosh, and I will just pick another one if I have something else in mind.
Yeah.
Sometimes simplicity is the key. It's also relevant not only to paywalls and some creatives, ad creatives, or even App Store listing elements, because there are cases when you test icons and you test a variant with very, very simple, small change, and it already brings you at least 10% conversion uplift.
Exactly. It can really be incredible. And I think that what you should remember from a product perspective, that the brand itself is going to take a pretty big hit if you have all these super hacky ways of not being able to close down the paywall, or accidentally clicking it because all the other CTAs looked exactly the same, and all of that. So I think if you really want to get your brand into the paywall, also consider what is it going to cost from a brand perspective. impossible to measure, but what is going to cost, like from how the customer will feel if so many people are accidentally subscribing because they didn't notice that it was a paywall that they were actually clicking and starting to subscribe. So yeah, think about like how to get your focus more on getting your brand and your product into the features you are presenting rather than just making a paywall page that people are accidentally clicking into and subscribing to your product.
Amazing. That makes sense for sure. And what do you think? What's most common reasons when, for example, this stage has passed and a user converted to paid, like they pressed subscribe, chose the plan or anything, but then they just churn in 30 days. They cancel their subscription, and what potentially this could tell us about something like mistakes of teams who are responsible for subscription, where they are looking in the wrong place here when they are celebrating this year they subscribed, but then we got this churn.
Yeah, it's a really good point. And there's probably two things that are important to think about from a product and like monetization perspective. One is, of course, like you said, if they are paying, like, are they choosing to subscribe? But the other one, like you said, if a lot of the customers are unsubscribing after 30 days, is to look at the second point, which is your key action, or the key utility of your app, or whatever the feature is that is your key part of your app, so to say. And that can be, anything from, like in my examples, when I worked at Fishbrain, that was logging a catch, that you got a fish when you were out fishing. At Golf Gamebook, it was starting and playing a golf round using the app. Now at Brew Studios, where I'm working, that can be booking and checking into your first workout class with Brew Studios. So what is that key metric that is the reason the person is subscribing? To get them to subscribe is one thing, but then what is it that they're paying for? And are they doing that? Are they seeing the value of that part of your product enough? It could also be that if you're looking at a 30-day cancellation window, perhaps in order for them to continue subscribe and for you to be able to see that they will have good subscription retention, maybe they need to experience this key moment 5 times or 10 times, depending on what your retention numbers look like. So really diving one step deeper and see after they have converted, what are some of the indicators and the core part of your product that you want to measure really happens over those first 30 days. And then that's, of course, what you and the team should continue to work on. When you have identified what that part is, then to really make sure that they are doing that and keeping focus for that key action in the next 30 days is probably going to be the key thing for that monetization or growth team or product team to really work on.
Yeah, totally. Like if you think about this, for example, you have sold like specific feature in your app or some capabilities, and when user bought it, and then when they start using the app, they just they just don't meet these hooks, and so it's kind of misalignment with what Paywall shows and what actually they experience in the app. Great.
Definitely. And then it's also fine. Like you might have a core feature, which is the reason that the subscribers and your customers are coming to you. And then it might be another reason to why they stay. It doesn't have to be that they stay because they are only using that core feature that they came from the beginning. For example, like all the apps that I have worked for are quite like utility based. In a lot of the communication, we've always pushed a lot on what you get out of it, like what is the value. But what we almost always see is that one of the reasons people are actually staying is because of the social aspects. So that might be Strava is another example. Like you might download Strava because you want to track your time. How long does it take you to run 10K? But you stay with Strava because you start building your community there. You get a little bit encouraged when you see that someone gives you kudos or likes your last run that you did. So the reason why you download and why you get that subscriber might not in the long term be the only reason why they stay. But to get them to really experience that core feature in the beginning, I think that's going to be key.
Wow. And actually, you just touched something I wanted to cover next. You mentioned that you worked for Fishbrain and with an app for golfers, and you were a co-founder of an app for pet lovers, and now you're working with audience fitness people. These are all passion-driven hobbies, and I wanted to ask you what this experience can teach you about something that utility apps also we were referring to cannot replicate. So I think we already have one factor, this social interaction, reality.
Yeah, exactly. It's interesting. Like you said, I've worked with a lot of different hobby apps, which is, I think, a pure privilege, because these are always apps that our customers or our members or our subscribers or whatever you want to call it, they're excited when they open it. They might sit at work and, do something else, but then they want to open this app that is a hobby related to them that they're super passionate about to get a glimpse of it. And I would say in relation to a lot of the other apps in general, these niche apps are usually, it's quite easy in that way, because the people and the customers you get, it's a niche group. So it can be quite easy to target down the audience through different partnerships and marketing efforts and so on, since the audience are usually quite large, but it's very niche. And the other thing is that over the past, I would say 10 years, I think it's been quite clear that bigger platforms like Facebook and Instagram and so on are working, but people aren't always adding their friends there anymore. You don't have to add every single person that you met to Facebook anymore, the same way as it was popular to do 10, 15 years ago, maybe. But nowadays people care more about like-minded people. So to have an app that is focused on a like-minded niche where you get to, talk to people about the niche that you're interested in, that's what's more interesting to people. Now you could argue why is TikTok so big then, or why do they have so much success? But I think that lies much in their algorithm, because to everyone, their TikTok is going to be very different. So you get this niche experience through TikTok thanks to your algorithm that they seem to do such a good job with. So even a big platform like that is quite niche, and you have all these micro communities within TikTok. So I think that argues why that is still working. But it's definitely interesting and quite fortunate, I would say, to build products and apps that are to a very niche and specific community.
Yeah, I agree with you, because I've noticed too that on Instagram it's the same, because I removed my Facebook, frankly. On Instagram it's the same. You no longer connect with anyone, and some people even are cleaning their lists of followers. But at the same time, what Instagram practices for now for Reels, like on TikTok, they have the same. You have a new hobby, I don't know, a new point of interest, and you're Googling something, and you start watching this and finding this in your thread every day. I don't know, sometimes I don't know how it works, because, for example, I didn't search for it on Instagram,
Yeah.
How everyone is listening to us.
Exactly. Yeah, they know for sure. And I think that's the way that you see TikTok, that you see Instagram Reels, going in this direction. I think that speaks even more to this argument that people want to connect to like-minded people. They don't necessarily want to see that, another picture of what one of their friends had for dinner last weekend. Yeah. But they are interested to see a new video about that hobby or that interest that you recently started to Google a little bit or to think about. So I think that's really the direction that the world has been going in and continues to go towards.
Yeah, exactly. And now let's deepen a bit into health and fitness specifically, since you are now growing an app for Bruce Studios, all aspects related to that. So I think many people notice that fitness motivation is not stable, but it's like more cyclical. Someone starts like doing sports, doing yoga, whatever, like workouts. Then many people who are not so strong, like they fall off, but then they return again, start again, like using an app, and then they fall off again. So I wanted to ask you how not to get disappointed about that, how like just accept that, and how do you build a product that not only doesn't fight that like habit, that cycle, inevitable, but instead adjusts to that pattern.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a challenging industry to be in from that perspective, because you're fighting with like the human desire to want to go to lay on the couch. And that's what we want as humans. Like, we want to opt for the easiest, lazy way that's built within us to, I don't know, store energy and, seek for safety, which we usually feel when we are just laying down and relaxing in our homes. So to go out and work out and, like you mentioned, Brew Studios is a workout aggregator system. So we have a lot of training and also wellness opportunities. And I think a couple of things when it comes to building a product related to this audience and to this area is that one thing we try to do is to encourage a lot of different workout styles, and try to have a little bit this mentality that just to do something for your body and therefore also for your mental health is good and is a good step. It doesn't have to be that you go out and run 10K every day. Maybe like a nicer, like softer, yoga class or breathworking class, or maybe you should go to the sauna or do some infrared, sauna experience, something like that, something for more wellness related. So we try to be quite encouraging to make you do that. And then I would say, like everyone else knows that has worked from a product perspective, that when you nudge people to do things, it usually works. Like if we nudge more people through like email and CRM and push notifications to work out or to book their next class and encourage them to do it, they're going to do it. Of course, not everyone, but to like a bigger extent than if we don't send that push notification. So I think that's the benefit that we can also have society and on like a bigger scale compared to like a traditional gym membership, where you don't really have that connection between the gym chain and the customer themselves. We can work a lot with statistics. We do that a bit today, but we have a lot of interesting things coming up there as well. I think if you look at companies like Duolingo that are working a lot with streaks and really trying to keep you motivated, there's a lot of things that we can learn from that on like the behavior and the way our brains actually works in how you get motivated to do something. And then, like you said, I think we also need to adjust and make sure that we are following the customer and our member throughout their journey, because like you said, their motivation is going to change. They might get sick. It might take a while for them to come back. There might be things that are changing in their lives. Maybe they are moving. Maybe they just got a child. Maybe they started a new job. Maybe they got a dog. So like there might be so many things that are happening in life, and workout and training is kind of this thing that you want to keep. And we would like to encourage you to keep doing it, but maybe you change what you're doing instead. So I think we have a lot of power, and we try to really build a product that goes more in the direction of being able to like follow you through life, even if your habits or what type of workouts you do changes a bit over time.
Well, that's really interesting. And when you mentioned like notifications that you send and users get back, they start like doing workouts. I swear, the first thing that came to my mind is Duolingo, because it makes me get back to it and practice Spanish. And when I stop this trick. I'm so disappointed in myself. Like some diamonds I used from the app, like to regain like this trick again. Yeah. So it keeps me motivated for sure. I even added this to my home screen on my smartphone. So I can confirm it works.
Exactly.
Yeah, and Brew Studios is an interesting case in terms of that it's not just another like sports fitness app. It's like, I would say it's a whole system because it's related to gyms and studios and classes. So does it somehow affect your product and growth decisions rather than for just a simple digital app, or it's pretty much the same but have some specific features?
No, I would say that you're completely right that it is quite different than, companies that I worked for before. One similarity is that Fishbrain, the fishing app that I worked for, Golf Gamebook, the golf app, and also now Brew Studios, all of them are apps that are related to doing something in real life. So that is one similarity. Like the first one, you use the app when you're out fishing. The second one, you use the app when you're out on the golf course. And now Brew Studios, you use when you are going to work out. Then you can, of course, use them in between, and there's a lot of other features as well. But it's related to an action that you're taking in real life. So that's the similarity between all of these three companies compared to, say, an app that is just a gaming app or something like a game that you play on your phone or, betting, or a pure like utility app to check when the train is going, or those sort of things. So all of these are related to like hobbies and something that you do in real life. You can't only use the product by itself necessarily. So that's one similarity. But a difference, like you mentioned with Brew Studios, is that we are connected to a lot of partners, a lot of studios. That's why we've chosen the name Brew Studios, because we're connected to so many different studios, gyms, and various places. And this creates win-win situation where these studios can get more visits, get more people to notice that they have a great yoga studio or a great boxing place or, swimming halls or whatever it might be. But it also helps, as we hope, to make sure that people feel motivated, because there's always something that you would want to do. Maybe you don't feel like doing that normal, like workout that you always do, but perhaps there is something else that you can do instead. So it definitely helps from that perspective. But of course, it is a change in the company structure. We have people that are working only with the studios to make sure that our partnerships with them are going good, that we are expanding into different areas that are growing a lot. Pilates, for example, has been like a huge uptake and very popular in the Nordics over the past year or years. So that's a big change from like a company perspective. We need to make sure that we have people who are out there and meeting with the studio owners and so on, so that we can partner up and thereby offering Pilates in this case to our members. So it's definitely different than other apps.
Wow, very interesting. Thank you for sharing how it happens behind the scenes. Yeah, as I see it, from on the one hand, it's more effective because you have something to offer to users, to choose from again, because today you are interested in box and tomorrow you want to try something new. But at the same time, it's huge work behind all that. You need to support your contacts with all the studios, and keep your finger on the pulse. Really interested. And if we zoom out just a little bit, a lot of decisions in marketing and in product marketing come down to what teams choose to measure or what they focus on. And on LinkedIn, I saw your post where you said that engagement matters more than just downloads. So for our audience, I wanted to ask your advice, your take on what are some misleading, in your opinion, metrics that some teams still are happy about and celebrate today.
Yeah, so obviously downloads is one.
Number one, yeah.
Yeah, so I think that one, I mean, the thing with downloads, of course, it's good to get a lot of downloads. And, maybe you've had a video that has gone viral on TikTok and you get a bunch of downloads. Of course, that's a good thing. But in general, as a whole, to have that as like one of your key metrics, it can just be that it proves that your UA, like your user acquisition budget, is working, or that the user acquisition budget is high enough. It doesn't necessarily mean that you are building a product that people want. It means that your budget is good enough or big enough that you can spend a lot to get people to download, and that you're also good enough to converting people to download, like to see the video or to see the assets that you have in Meta and all the other platforms and get them to download. Of course, it proves that, but it doesn't prove that your product in itself is good enough. So downloads is one thing. I would also say day one retention is something that can be quite a little bit dangerous. It's enough to, send a push notification on day one, which, I mean, you should do that. It's not like you shouldn't do that. You should try to get your day one retention up, but it's quite easy to polish that one, and, make sure that you have a good onboarding and that people are coming back on day one. So if you also focus on day 7 and day 30 retention, perhaps, then it's completely fine. And it's good to still look at day one retention, but you should stay away from focusing too much only on the day one retention, because that can be quite misleading. I also think like session volume is another thing that can be dangerous, especially when it comes to seasonal products like the ones I've been working with, like fishing and golf and workouts and so on, because it could just be seasonal behavior. Of course, when it comes to a sport that you only do in parts of the year, say that you're working for like a skiing app, your sessions are of course going to go up a lot in the wintertime or whenever it's snow outside and so on. So sessions can be something that's also not so relevant to mention, because it doesn't really show retention. It's more that it's good weather for whatever sport or whatever app that you have. So session volume can also be something to stay away from. And then the last one that I usually think about is ratings and reviews. Because what's quite common is that it only reflects like the hardcore users. So the ratings and reviews that you might see in App Store might only be for the people that really love your product or really hate it. But it's quite easy to get those people to write something, write a rating or write a review. But I would really encourage to do something that we've recently started doing, which is to do like an NPS survey, where you really try to take the temperature of members of your app just when they are using it. And this is something that you should trigger not when they have necessarily completed something really good. For ratings and reviews, you always want to push that when the user is in a good mindset, when they have completed something, or that they have accomplished something, they have seen something good about your app, about your product. That makes total sense, and you should still do that for ratings and reviews. But in order to really learn how your customers are feeling about your product, it's much better to have like an NPS that you trigger when they've done something just normal in the app, which doesn't make them feel something so special. So this is something that should be used more for your product development, whereas ratings and reviews is more of a marketing thing, and really good to have high ratings and reviews. But yeah, something that you should stay away from trusting too much.
Well, thank you so much, Hanna, because that's definitely food for thought for me personally. I'm on the marketing side and I've never thought too much about this, because yes, like as always, you are aiming to like highlight an app on the App Store, because like it's the first point where users see your app, and if there are like a low rating or bad reviews, they will drop off for sure. And yeah, I agree that in most cases users write this review if they are unsatisfied, if the app doesn't work and they are angry about that, or in more rare cases when they are really happy with the product. So yeah, it's definitely great angle to look at it, that you also should constantly do work for your app, for the product itself, and talk to those users who neither dissatisfied much nor in love that much with your product. So that's awesome. And again, like talking about marketing and products, this is my next question. Where else, probably because one angle we have already noticed for now, where do you typically see this misalignment between marketing and product when it comes to, to metrics, probably to defining quality users, because it's an old problem, I would say.
Yeah, exactly. It can definitely be a battle, and it's hard to get the good collaboration between like marketing and product. And I think the biggest reason why it can be challenging is because marketing is usually measured on volume and product is measured on engagement. So I think most people will recognize this if they have worked in a couple of companies. They've probably seen at some company at least that marketing might be bringing in a lot of users or a lot of traffic or a lot of leads or whatever type of company that you work in. But product is then measured on engagement. Like, how do you get these to actually become members or customers or subscribers and then stay? So the marketing team might have a super successful year just if their budget is big enough and that they are finding like good ways, of course, to attract people and so on. Whereas product really needs to find that engagement and work a lot on making sure that they are engaging all those users that are coming in. So if or a big majority of the customers that are coming in are not so interested, maybe they didn't understand the ad, they thought the product was something else, that's going to be a huge challenge for the product team to try to get those people to convert. Versus if the marketing ads or assets and so on explained a bit more, or sometimes maybe we're more honest or something about what the product actually is all about, then it might be easier for the product team to actually get those people to be engaged. So I think the misalignment is really when the marketing team is measured like only on volume, not really quality, what type of like volume or quality they are actually bringing in, and when the product team is measured on engagement. So recommendation there is really to try to keep the metrics quite aligned and making sure that they cross over a little bit, and that you see it also as like a team effort and not so much divided of like marketing only here and product only here. We have the same customers and we're the same company at the end of the day. So
and the same goal. Yeah, and you should never evaluate this in isolation. Like, for example, if a user churns at a specific level, let's say, of a game, or like they don't like a button as it may seem, it's not always as it may seem again, because probably it's just not what they expected when they like installed this app, right? And the product is great, and it will find its audience, just the right segment of audience it should be shown to. So thank you for highlighting this. And let's dream a little bit. Just if you, for example, join a mobile app with a really strong acquisition but weak retention, what are the first three or I don't know, any number product errors you would audit in this situation? You're like sitting down with this and like, okay, let me check this, and this.
Okay, so strong acquisition but poor retention.
Yeah, exactly.
I would say it's probably been every time that I've started a new company, it's probably or like joined a new company, it's probably been the same three things that it would be in like this situation that I would look into a bit more. Definitely the onboarding, because that is what the customer is met with at the very first. Are you explaining enough value? Are you gathering enough information from the user so that you can provide good value? At the same time, the onboarding usually shouldn't be too long. So like really like auditing the onboarding is something that I would really do. And then number two would be this, the core activity that we talked about earlier, like what is the core action or the main thing about the app that you have. Like I said before, that can be like logging a catch or playing a round of golf or booking and completing a workout or whatever it is for your app. So how is that flow? Are customers understanding how they do it? Are they understanding the value of it? So yeah, really looking into like the core activity that you have of the app. And then the third one would be the notification, like strategy and structure, because that is usually a quite like short-term, I wouldn't even say hacky. It is a little bit of a hacky way to get more engagement and get people to come back or to improve the retention. But it's not hacky in the way that it's, dirty in any way. The notifications are there to be used. And if people get too annoyed, they will unsubscribe from the notification. So you still really need to keep that balance. But there can definitely be some good wins there from a retention perspective as well. So if there is someone who's struggling with having, somewhat like good amount of downloads, but poor retention, I would definitely say onboarding, the core activity, and notifications. Those would be my first top 3 things.
Amazing, Hanna. Thank you so much for sharing like these areas, these steps. And we just imagined this app, but you don't need to imagine being a co-founder of an app, right? Because in addition to being a CPO at Bruce Studios, you are also a co-founder and advisor of Petmates, an amazing app. I've installed it, by the way, for pet lovers. And I wanted to ask you, what building a product from scratch can teach you something that you cannot learn when you are scaling already successful or already existing app in the market, and how building something on your own, creating like your brainchild, changes your perspective, your take on like the product and growth in general and in your another like sphere, for example, working as a CPO.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I started Petmates with a couple of friends a few years ago, and it was, we were a couple of friends, wanted to like build something, a product that I felt missing. I have and had at that point also a dog, and I felt like there weren't really an app that was gathering all the like documents and gave me tips and tricks. I had never had a dog before, so there were a lot of new information, a lot of things that I wanted to do, but also a lot of things that were boring that I had to keep track of, like documents and insurance. And a couple of times when I went to the vet, they were asking if my dog had ever gotten this medication before, and I couldn't remember if it was exactly that medication that he got 2 years ago or something else. So I felt bad because I wasn't so structured. So we wanted to create an app that is more about a little bit like handling like the boring side, the admin side of having a pet, but then still make it fun with notifications and tips and, daily tasks and those sort of things. So we started that, and I think it's been a great experience for me to get to see something so small that's starting from scratch at the same time as being at bigger companies that already have established products, a lot of customers, and to build something much smaller, because it means that in the free time or in the weekends when I'm sometimes sitting and looking at that app, looking at Petmates, I learned so much about the details that I'm not in my normal CPO job at my day job. So there's a lot of details and a lot of small specific things that I'm learning from that project that I can then take in, and of course have much more understanding to the team that I'm working with at Brew Studios, for example, understanding wider areas, because Petmates were such a small team and it is more of a hobby project, but I still get to learn so much and get a bigger understanding. So I think that gives me also a bit of like perspective, and can also make me understand like a wider part of our full organization, because you get to learn a little bit here and there. So definitely a lot of respect for various areas of the organization.
And how did you prioritize what to add? Or like you're starting from zero and you have so many ideas like based on your experience with your own dog, and your friends suggest something that we should have this and this. So how did you decide where to focus when you have many ideas, many requests?
Yeah. It's a feature backlog and like a feature list is always challenging. I think the strategy that we kind of tried to have in the beginning of Petmates was that first we wanted to build the product itself with a couple of features at least that we believed in. And as mentioned, we wanted to have this like boring side of pet ownership, like storage for your documents and so on. But we also knew that is definitely not a retention driver. I mean, if you upload the insurance of your dog or cat or the vet document that you got from the veterinary, that's not something that you go in and check very often. So we wanted to have that because that was still going to be part of the core of the product and why we wanted to start it. But we also wanted to have something that was a bit more retention driving. So that's why we built the notifications with tasks also, so that you get some tasks that we have decided that it's based on some other research that it's good if you actually weigh your dog or your cat monthly, because it might be hard for you to notice if they are gaining weight or not, or losing weight, because you see them every day. So we've set a reminder that you should do that monthly. There are a couple of things that we think, based on the research we've done, that you should do weekly, like in terms of like checking their claws or their teeth or those sort of things. So those tasks and that like task part of the app is something that we wanted to build that is more retention driving, but still have this like core part of having the document storage there as well. So we decided to build all that from a feature perspective. And we already knew from the beginning that once we have done that, once we have launched and shipped all of that, first, at that point, will we create a paywall? So in the beginning, we didn't have any monetization features at all. And we wanted to really build the product itself. And then when we were done with the core part of the product, that's when we decided to add the monetization layer to it as well, of actually offering a subscription product. That's a bit more personalized, using AI to make sure that you get, if you have a dog, you don't only get like dog recommendations. If you have a multi-poo, you get multi-poo recommendations for your specific breed, for example. So we can be much more specific like that if you're a premium user and paying. So I think the strategy and the recommendation I would say is like, make sure that you know what this core feature is of your app. Does it include a retention driver? Is it going to be like, is it a good product enough, or do you need to add something more? And then I would suggest that you can wait until that point to actually add the subscription layer to it, but still do that as quickly as you can afterwards, because you want to make sure that you start monetizing if you can, as soon as possible.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, revenue is the ultimate goal of each business, right? Even
yes.
like if it's like a hobby. But you took a very great approach, in my opinion, when you first like provided this value, made sure that you deliver this value, and then just started monetizing. And I need something like that for myself, because I have 3 cats. I need these like tasks to give a malt pasta for their hair balls, etc.
Yes, exactly. And we also made sure that like we have some recommendations that are set up, and then you can always add your own. So if you, for example, have for some point you need to give one of the cats a specific medicine, then you can add that specifically. So that we help you, but that it's also, you can also personalize it to your specific pet.
So you can configure that. That's great. And is there something that you would do like another way if you launched Petmates like this year now, or you are pretty much confident about the first steps you took and you would repeat them today?
No, I would definitely say that there's like one thing that I can really think about that we should have done different is, I come from the product perspective. So I think a lot about the features, and I have worked slightly in marketing, but not much, much more experience from the product perspective. So I have been quite product focused and marketed the features more than the fear, which I think I've learned now is probably the way to go with marketing. That's something that we will try a bit more. What I mean is, for example, that if we have vaccination reminders, we have marketed that you can get reminders about when you need to give a vaccine. But I think from a marketing perspective, it's probably much more effective if you say it like, never miss a vaccination again, and that you really play on the fear instead of the
guilt.
Yeah, exactly, of the potential customer. I think that message is a lot sharper than like track your pet's health. It makes you probably want to download the app more if it's like never miss a vaccination before, because maybe most people have done that or forgotten to give, some sort of medicine in a day or things like that. So I would say marketing the fear, marketing the feelings rather than marketing the features is something that I have definitely learned.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And, at a smaller scale, every data point, every new insight feels more significant than for bigger apps. So how do you decide when a signal is worth acting, worth applying this insight, or you should just wait more and evaluate this?
Yeah. I would say that it matters quite a lot, where in the journey this data point is. Also, is it something that relates to another point? Like if you see a drop in signups, for example, do you also see a drop in activation of the customers that are going through the sign up? Is it try to pinpoint where it starts. Exactly. Where it starts and what it leads to. I think this is also a great reminder that whenever you do A/B testing, you have to always measure something else. Say, for example, that we were to measure a new paywall, because we talked about that earlier. So we A/B test a new paywall, and let's say that this ugly paywall that we're testing wins. But after a couple of weeks, we notice that we see a drop in our core metric, in logged catches or played golf rounds or checked in at workout studios. That can have been because the paywall actually got people to join or the onboarding that weren't so into the product or who didn't understand it. So to always measure these opposite metrics when you do an A/B test is extremely important. If you want one number to go up, what is another number that you also don't want to go down? That's one thing that I would just always like to remember when running A/B tests. What are the other metrics that are not going to be directly impacted by this A/B test that you're running, but that you really want to make sure are not affected also.
That's really great advice. Yeah, never look at it in isolation. And if something drops, that doesn't mean that that's because you've updated the paywall, because there are a lot of factors. Maybe the App Store or Google Play made their changes and algorithms updated, and they installed your app without being aware if it's something relevant to them.
Exactly.
Yes, thank you so much. And last but not least question from the main list, I would like to ask you today, what's the one thing you would force every mobile product manager to unlearn? Just forget it.
Yeah, I mean, if you work with product, you work with a lot of features and introducing a lot of new things. I would say that the fact that more features equals more value, that's not true. So that is definitely something to unlearn if you're still in that loop of thinking that we need new features, we want to add a new target group, we need to add a new feature. Try to rather think about how can you adjust the features that you have? Are they really the best? Are you done with those features that you have? Should you introduce new ones? And really to dare to not only add features, but also remove. Sometimes removing and slimming down can also be a really good way to increase the engagement of the features that you actually have. So I guess that the learning is to, or like the thing that I would like product people to forget is that, more features equals more value. Not true.
First deal with the features you already have, right?
100%.
And thank you so much, Hanna. And I also have a question from the previous guest, Anastasia Avramenko. She didn't know who would be the next one. But I like the question. I think it's great. It sounds like the following. What small things make you happy every day? Maybe work, maybe coffee, maybe, I don't know, playing video games. Because like Anastasia highlighted, besides work and growth and product and marketing, we still have life to be lived, right?
Yeah. Yeah. If I think about really small things, I would say that one thing that I try to do is to look up. And what I mean by that is that I usually bike or walk to the office, and there's so much to see if you look up. I think when we work with digital products, like probably all of the listeners,
like this,
do,
everyone.
Exactly, we're always looking down or perhaps straight, but we never look up and see what's there. What does the top of the building look like? What is something that someone have in their window on like the 6th floor of a building? What does the sky look like? What do the clouds look like today? Can you see the moon or some stars when it's dark outside? So it's something that I usually like snap a picture if I see something pretty or beautiful or fun, or it could be a bird or something like that. So that's something very small but a very small and specific habit that I try to keep to really get a touch of like the outside world, outside of the screen where I'm usually staring.
Wow, that's so heart melting. I think I would practice this too. And also they say like there are studies that show that when you like do nothing or just observe the world around you, you are more inclined to like find new ideas in something that surrounds you. Thank you.
For sure.
And if you ask the next guest, again, we don't know who it would be, what would you ask them?
Yeah, this is a question that I'm thinking about a lot myself. So I would love for you to ask this to the next guest. We usually talk about the product trio when it comes to product, where you have the product manager, you have the designer, and the engineer. And I would like to ask the next guest that what role from this product trio do you think will be replaced by AI first? The product manager, the designer, or the engineer? So like 100% replaced. Who will it be? Product manager, designer, or engineer?
Amazing question. I applaud you because it's a really hot topic today and really like spicy. Thank you, Hanna. Yes. I can't wait to ask the next guest and look at their face when they decide who will be replaced first. Thank you. And to sum up our amazing conversation, I have a blitz for you, like quick questions about like your life, mostly, not professional sphere. TV shows or movies?
TV shows.
And which one like impressed you most recently? Or was just fun to relax?
Yeah. Me and my husband watch a lot of documentaries. Most recently we watched, what was the most recent one? I don't even know which one we watched most recently, but a lot of documentaries. So like anything and everything on Netflix, that's usually like a TV show with a couple of episodes, because then you get to learn and dive a bit deeper. Those sort of documentaries is usually what we opt for.
Not crime, just general, like about animals. I like something like this too. Yeah. And top 2, 3, or I don't know, 5 cities you have visited and keep coming back or want to come back. Which ones you love most?
Nice. I used to live in the US for 6 years. I live in Sweden now, where I'm from, but I used to live in the US for 6 years. And Tampa in Florida is one place where I lived for 4 years, and definitely a city that I love. I think it has everything that you want in a city. It is a city, but it's still really close to the beach. Tampa is on the west coast of Florida. There's a lot of startups and fun business community, but still a lot of nice restaurants, like nice bars and places to go to have fun. The sunshine, the palm trees. I think it's a city that really has it all. I think I stick to one and say like that is my big recommendation. And I mean, most people that visit Florida perhaps go to Orlando or Miami, great places to go. But I would like to shout out Tampa as a city.
Amazing. Thank you for your recommendation. And I wanted to ask your favorite way to recharge, but you already mentioned that you like going to work on your bike or like on foot, but maybe you have something like to recharge after a long day, yoga, cycling, long strolls or something like that.
Yeah, I think, for me, like working at a workout and training company, I think it's quite clear that doing some sort of like workout or physical activity is really nice. I love, for the past 6 months, I've been going to a lot of ride classes where it's like spinning inside, where it's like a super dark room, flashing lights, super loud music, and then you ride to the rhythm of the music. And that's something that I've been loving because it really makes me be there 100%. So you can't really think about something else. You need to move your hands in the right rhythm and ride the bike in the right rhythm. So you need to be 100% focused and really, really be there. So it's great for both the heart and the sweat and the energy and the music and everything. So that's something that I can definitely recommend.
Wow. And the brain is like reloaded to like you don't think about anything else, right? At this
Exactly. 100% there.
Awesome. And what you prefer, early mornings or late evenings?
This is a hard one because I really like both. And that usually takes a toll on the sleep because I love the mornings that before I used to always work out in the mornings and to be able to go to the gym or go to the studio where you're going to work out and you really notice that no one is really out and you have the full day ahead of you. I love that feeling, the feeling of being up and awake before most people. But I can also be really effective in the evenings and get a lot of things done. With knowing that it takes a toll on the sleep, I think I need to say both.
Thank you. And one last question here. One app you genuinely love and use it like every day, but not work related.
I've been using Strava now for a really long time, and I've had some issues with my foot, so I can't be running specifically, but I use it for tracking like all of my workouts. So I put also other type of workouts in there. So I think I would go with Strava. It's a classic, but it's definitely a product that after starting using it for running first, then I've also gotten stuck to continue to use it for my other type of workouts as well.
I think it's the best recommendation for Strava. So thank you so much, Hanna. Thank you so much for this insightful conversation. Thank you so much for sharing a lot of things behind the scenes. I really learned a lot today too, and I'm happy about that. I think audience will be happy about that. And I know that you're open to networking, right? So we are going to add your LinkedIn link profile here.
Yes, exactly. I always jump on like small calls with people, or if you want to discuss like product challenges and so on. So always fun to connect with like-minded people.
Amazing. So thank you again, Hanna, and have an amazing rest of the week.
Same to you. Thank you so much.